Hello and welcome to episode 64 of the Your Way podcast. So, this is kind of a special episode in many different ways. It is the final episode of the year. It happens to be going live on Christmas Day because my episodes go live every other Thursday. And I've got some people with me today. So, often I do interviews with like one person, or I might bring some clients together. But today it was much more of a how do I bring people together to round up the year in a way that is going to feel good for people. It's not lost on me that Christmas brings up so much mixed stuff for so many people. For some people, it's like this joyful, the best time of the year. For other people, it's like not that. I know for myself, like I don't like Christmas was very mixed for me as a child. I had a period between 2020 and 2023 where I wasn't speaking to my parents, and then so Christmas got messy every year because it got messy every year. We'll leave it at that. Um, and so it can be a challenging time. So what I wanted to do was, however your Christmas day is going, I wanted to redress the balance a little bit. And the other thing, as this episode goes through to the new year, is we get that weird period, don't we, between Christmas and New Year. And for a lot of people, it's the only time actually where a lot of people get a bit of downtime and have a chance to reflect. And it's often that time where you think about, okay, well, how did this year go? What went well? What do I want to achieve the next year? It's a very natural time to set New Year's resolutions, which I'm not a fan of, by the way, because I don't think we should be like go, go, go in January if we live in the Northern Hemisphere, because that's more like springtime. But it's still a natural time to think about, okay, well, what might I want to do differently next year? And 2025 has been a big year for a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people. Actually, it's been really cool. And I don't know if it's like I got a red car and then I saw everybody else had a red car and there were always all of these red cars. But my experience has been that a lot of people are wakening up a little bit more spiritually. They're feeling safer to talk about stuff that is important to them that isn't necessarily mainstream. So things before that they might have felt like they needed to hide. Now, I appreciate me launching a program called Wealthy Witches in February, like allowed a lot of the witch people to come forward and be like, "Oh, me too." But it seems to have been a bigger thing than that. But with change and growth and shedding also comes this kind of discomfort. So for many people, it have also will have been discomfort, uncomfortable year. I was like, what's the word? It will have been an uncomfortable year, but a year with lots of growth and lots of positives. So what I have done is I've invited, and actually it's really interesting, the people that have said yes, are all really quite joyful people. So I've invited so the people that have come on the podcast today, they're going to share a little bit about themselves. And what I've asked is just that they bring something that they are celebrating from the year. Maybe they want to reflect on the year. I mean, really, they can say whatever they want because we've just had a pre-chat and we've recognized it's the Your Way podcast. So they'll do what they want. Um, but just to spread a bit of goodness at this time of year. And I hope that whatever you need to take from this podcast, you will get from this conversation. So that is very much the intention. So, would anyone like to go first? Tell us about you. Um, Tell us about why you're here, what you would like to share. How's your year been? What are you celebrating? Um, if you've got like any pithy bits of like wisdom for the audience. No one knew any of this in advance, by the way. I'm just dropping. This is like live in the moment, think on your feet kind of stuff. Um, yeah, let me know. So, does anyone feel called to go first?
Ladies first.
Okay.
Well, I'm a podcast virgin, so I'm not going first because I'm learning from some pros here.
Podcast virgin. All right.
Well, leaves
So,
me then.
Davina is here to lose her podcast virginity, and we're very glad to host that experience
That's
for
okay.
her.
You've got to pop that cherry sometimes.
Yes, so we're here to pop the podcast cherry for Davina, but we'll
I was going to
give you
say
some
that, but I
grace.
didn't feel like it was appropriate.
No, that's fine. This is good. So we'll give you some grace, Davina. So Jackie Interestingly, I met Jackie for the first time about 21 minutes ago. Um, Now I do actually know Jackie. I do know Jackie. We are LinkedIn pals, but we have never met face to face. Although, as we've just said, it's very interesting when you're sort of chatting to people online and then you meet them, you kind of forget that you haven't met them because you can get to know people quite well. Like Mitch and I were chatting for years before we finally spoke properly. So Jackie's had I've actually watched Jackie have quite an interesting shift on LinkedIn this year. I can't remember when I first came across Jackie, but it was some point during 2025. And she definitely took a little bit of a LinkedIn sabbatical. And then what came back on the back of this LinkedIn sabbatical was just this absolute blast of we just need to be experiencing more joy in our lives, which is actually really in line with a lot of the things that I've been feeling at the moment. I'm in a prophetic fifth year in my astrological house of my age, blah, 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 blah. But that is a lot to do with like really leaning into joy. So, how lovely on this, hopefully for all of you, joyful day, Jackie is here. So, Jackie, welcome. I did say
Thank
I was
you.
going to introduce you in my way, and then you have to do it properly, which is what I do with every guest on the podcast. So, if you'd like to introduce yourself properly, with thoughtful details, a bit like Bridget Jones, if you've seen the film, then
Oh
and then
gosh.
share what you feel called to share.
Okay, no pressure. Right. Well,
No
thank you very
pressure,
much.
never
Thank you
any
very
pressure.
much for having me here. Yeah, I only found out about it today, so I'm very grateful to be here. So yes, I am Jackie Williamson. I'm an energy healer and a joy coach. But the joy coaching has only come in relatively recently. I've done other kinds. I've been an energy healer for 10 years, done other kinds of coaching. But you're quite right, Louise, that the joy thing came after a sabbatical from LinkedIn, because it got to the point where it wasn't being joyful for me. So this has been a huge year for shedding, of course. It is that the year of shedding. But for me, I guess the big thing has been I have shed a lot of deep-seated stuff, for want of a better phrase, that I didn't know was still there, because I've done a lot of healing work, had that done to me over or for me over 10 years, but there was still stuff there, and that has gone. I'm sure there's still more there always is, but it became very clear to me that what I should be talking about is joy, because I just meet so many people who are living what I think is a half life because they just can't access the joy. And I'm not airy fairy in the sense that, I'm all kind of, rainbows and unicorns. I know that life is rubbish for a lot of people. It has been rubbish for me for a good chunk of my life, but I have been able to work my way through a lot of it. And that's why now I like to help guide other people to get to joy themselves. I don't know how long you want me to go on for, Louise.
This is great. What you celebrating this year? What's the
What
celebration? What's your
my
big?
Okay, so my celebration is having really invested in myself this year, done a lot of healing. What I'm actually celebrating is that I am finally at age 61 being me. So
Yay!
that's it. That's
Also,
my big.
should we celebrate the fact that you look about 20 years younger?
Thank you.
Yay! Okay, I've got a follow-up question if I may, but it's just because I'm nosy.
Go on.
What kind of energy healing do you do?
So I'm a Reiki master, but I also teach chakra dancing, which is basically energy healing through movement.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
because I'm
Um,
big into dancing.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So I have an energy healer that does Reiki and massage and stuff, and she did a cacao and dance event about a month ago, I think, that I went to, and that was amazing. And what it showed me was that I am like a certain amount of uninhibited, like relative to how I was.
Mhm.
But I am not like fully uninhibited. As I was watching her move around the room, and I was like, oh, I was like, yeah, okay, good. Like I can actually, Davina, you would have loved it. I was like, yeah, oh, yeah. I was like, I can see, like, I can feel myself getting in. And at one point, I was sitting on the floor, like banging the drums on this wooden floor to the thing. But I was like, but I can't quite let myself go enough in the way that she is. And I was like, oh, I need to come back and do more of this. So I love that. So Jackie, if
Yeah.
people want to come and stalk you, where do they
Yes.
where do they do that?
Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn, just as Jackie Williamson. I'm on Instagram, Jackie Williamson New Dawn, and Facebook under well, under the New Dawn group, but I have actually, sorry, one last thing. I have just created a new community space we're kicking off in January, which is a free community for people who want to get more in touch with themselves and be more present. And that's called the Meant to Be Project.
The Meant to Be Project, and that's a Facebook group.
It is, yes.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And this last moment, I'm not a big scroller of social media, but I saw one of Jackie's posts this morning, and I was like, why is she not coming today? I sent her a message. I was like, do you fancy this? She was like, yes. So I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad the universe conspired in our favor and brought you here. Amazing. Tracy, welcome. You sort of going to get the gist. So people might just drop in and out throughout this, and that's totally cool. So we're just doing a bit of like, how's your year been? What you celebrating? Where can people find you? But before you get to speak, I get to say what I want to say about you, which is going to be so fun. Mitch, when you say like ladies first, do you mean you insist on going last? Like, do you want to go next?
Oh no, I can rock and roll. Go ahead.
Yeah, go on then. Oh wait, no, so I need to go.
Yeah.
So Mitch has been on the podcast before, as has Tracy. So Mitch has been on the podcast before, actually not that long ago, and you're coming back for episode 69. So you can see I've recorded up to 66, so it's not long before I come back to be like, you've got to come on again. And Mitch is awesome. He is
Done.
like
Right there, done.
Mitch is awesome. Mitch is one of those people. So Mitch, I said I go to some of those in-person days where I get to talk about all the good stuff.
I didn't hear it. Was that a question?
Yeah, well, no, you know how I've told you before that I go to some of those in-person days over here where I get to talk about all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And you were like, where is this? And I was like, no, it's in England. So Davina's in that group. But Mitch, I can have I can talk to Mitch. Basically, Mitch and I can riff off anything, and it's ace. And also it's really nice because it's like seeping into the Time Alchemy membership as well. We had amazing conversations on Tuesday about aliens and are we all aliens? And I was like, yeah, this is good. So Mitch is ace. He started off as a health coach. We didn't start off as a health coach. He had a whole corporate career before that, but he was a health coach that then realized that what he needed to do was to heal his nervous system. And what I love about Mitch is that he's one of, I would say, relatively few people who's actually done the work and is in the work and has also learned how to deeply support people, which I think is amazing and much needed. And I think it's really challenging sometimes when you want to do your healing work to be like, well, who can actually hold me and hold me safely? Like, who can hold me safely through this and who's going to actually get it? And I have mentioned to my lovely husband, Mitch, a couple of times now, because Mitch also kind of helps with like men's health and all of that stuff as well, and diet and how we look after ourselves. We'll just keep dropping the breadcrumbs. But yeah, basically, thoroughly lovely human being, awesomely epic coach, absolute delight to have him in my life. Welcome, Mitch. Tell us of your year. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. Thank you so much, Louise. Excited to be here with all the ladies.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got into health coaching I got into health. I've always been into health, but played sports growing up and that kind of thing. But I had a shit show of health and wellness stuff that happened to me over the years. I fell out of a window, traumatic brain injury, autoimmune, psoriasis. I had gut issues and lived in a house that had black mold. I had Lyme disease. I had heavy metals. I got hit by a dump truck after all of that. I got COVID 3 times and I just got my ass kicked so many times. And I tried everything, and that's why I got into health coaching and wanted to help other people. And in the beginning, it was food and movement and detox and biohacking and control. And these things helped. They also kicked my butt as well. And, I guess around COVID, learned about the nervous system. Probably 2021 is when I learned about the nervous system. I saw that I was coaching people through my my wounds and teaching them to control themselves and overwhelm with force. And when I learned about the nervous system, I couldn't do that anymore. And so some things shifted quickly for me, other things didn't. And I kind of put down the health coaching for a while. And my mentor is Irene Lyon. I've been in her practitioner training for the last year, and it has been a crazy fucking year. I feel like I've lived a decade in this year, and have spent a lot of the year on the couch crying and screaming and being so fatigued I didn't know what to do. Prior to that, I had so much anxiety and terror. It was like my hair was on fire and I was fatigued a lot of the time. And so diving into this work and learning to meet myself, to allow, to accept who I am and where I'm at and the sensations and the emotions that I'm feeling. As men, we get taught to shut that down and you're being a wuss and those kind of things. And so there's so much conditioning wrapped up in who I was and how I responded to my symptoms. And I think that the biggest thing that I learned this year was to accept and allow instead of trying to fix and figure out. I had a lady on my podcast that I'm now doing some one-on-one work, Simona Irwin, and she said, what keeps us in a sensitized state? Now, sensitized means I have been searching for answers and trying to fix myself for so long that I've flooded my nervous system with adrenaline and everything is hypervigilance, everything's a threat. And we're constantly trying to fix. And she said, what keeps us stuck in that state, right? I'm like, what? Trying to fix it and trying to figure it out. And that's who I was. And I was doing that for other people. And when I started putting that down and mapping the compulsive responses that I had to get away from the symptoms, I started to understand like, oh, this is OCD. And this is keeping me stuck. And that was really hard to put that stuff down, but it was like a magic trick. Within 2 or 3 months, significantly better sleeping for the first time in my life, and learning to meet these emotions with compassion, with acceptance, and give myself what I need. I had the family stuff, and the holidays are certainly hard for me right now. But I was really waiting for my parents to like show up and be the perfect parent, and that was kind of holding me hostage too. And when I started turning towards myself and allowing myself to give me what I needed, I didn't like that at first, to be honest with you, but I've learned to love it, and it's amazing. And it's a great daily practice, and I'm so thankful for this work. And the people that I work with are just like me. I've been doing this work for 4 years, and there's so much to learn. And doing things like just working with doing the top down and bottom up. I used to think that there was a war between the two, and now I think you can't do it without the other. We got to work with the beliefs, and we got to work with the body. And if we miss one of those, then we're kind of performing it, right? We can learn so much. People like me, like an intellectualizer, I knew so much, but I had to really learn to embody that. And so what I do with my clients is I meet them where they're at. I take exactly what I've learned and apply that. And some people aren't ready to do the work. Some people are really need to learn how to eat good food and learn how to move their body, and not in a controlling way, an overwhelming way. It's like, how can we support you? It's not the restrictive diets and the punishing workouts and the eating handfuls of supplements like out and biohacking everything. It's what food is going to nurture me, what feels good in my body, how do I learn to rest, how do I say no, what can I do to support my body, and when am I going to be ready to start meeting these emotions? It's a super difficult process, and it's just human and normal and simple,
Yeah.
but it's nuanced. And so I'm kind of that guide for people that are getting started and stuck in symptoms and have tried everything, they don't really know where to start.
Amazing, thank you. So if you were gonna like you sort of weaved it in there, but if you were gonna share like a sentence of like what you're celebrating this year, what would that be?
It's choosing me. That's what made me
The
cry.
theme. I need to rename the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, being authentic, saying how I feel, quit walking on eggshells and making myself small for other people. letting the emotions. This is something I heard yesterday that I think is really good. It's like if you're someone who's stuck in symptoms, repetitive symptoms, feelings that feel overwhelming, that's the repressed emotions. And our nervous system, our brain, our body, whatever you want to say it is so afraid of feeling that it would rather feel the pain. And because this is such a threat, it thinks this is trying to kill us, but it's unconscious and it's like we don't have access to it. It's like having a beach ball and holding it underwater all day long and sitting on top of it and trying to continue doing our day. It's very exhausting. And when we get conditioned to say that's not okay, you're not allowed, these emotions aren't allowed, go to your room, figure them out by yourself, or you're going to be punished, then this is what we end up with. And it's like learning a new language at 40 years old, or almost 40 years old. I don't want to date myself. Um,
Nothing
but
wrong with being 40 years old.
oh yeah, no doubt. I'm excited. I'm saying it now because it's not until April. I've been saying it all year long. Um, but yeah, it's choosing me over friends, family, the situations that no longer resonated. You know, and me and Louise like to talk about the weirdness, and the world is backwards. And once you see that, you can choose to keep going that direction, and you can do something different. And a lot of times that's going against gravity and everything that we've learned, and it's a massive process. And so being in communities like Louise creates, and having good people to support you, and um, really having those eyes wide open, it's overwhelming and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And there's so much on the other side of just being yourself, and choosing you, and having the audacity to be yourself when other people are doing it different.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mitch. And I
Yeah.
think it's such an easy thing to talk about, isn't it? Um, like all we have to do is be ourselves. And then it's like, okay, that's great. But who the fuck am I? Like I remember that being my thing in 2018. You go and see the lovely therapist, and the lovely therapist is like, well, you've been given this time off work for a reason, and you just get to go away and do all the things that you find fun. And I wanted to throw a brick at her face because I was like, lady, I don't know what I find fun. I was like, I don't even know who I am. So there is that like process of like, and actually Jackie and Mitch have both been speaking to this, that process of really starting to get to know ourselves again, which can feel really confronting when it's like, should I not have done this as a kid? Should I not have done this as a kid? And it's like, oh, yeah, no, I did. Well, maybe, but I didn't. So like, how about I start now? It's better late than never. Um, and then see where we go. So now we're welcoming Lucy. I said people might drop in and out. So Lucy, we're just doing little bits of chit chat around. Oh, you've just said in the chat, I'll pretend I've been here all along. No, you've been outed. So we're just doing little bits of. So I'm going to introduce you, and then you get to introduce yourself properly, and then you can just talk a little bit about your year and what's been going on for you. Like I've sort of said in the preamble, like we've had the year of the snake. It's been a lot of shedding for people, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't like some positive and growth in there as well. Then like what's one thing you're celebrating from the year? Mitch, what we didn't do, and I know you were on the podcast before, if people want to come and find you, where do they come and find you?
Yeah, great. I appreciate that. I've got a podcast. Sometimes I forget the name of it. Rooted Conversations. It's on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. My website's mitchwebb.com. There's a contact form there. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Usually it's K Mitch Webb or Mitch Webb. And if Louise will let me, I've got a free nervous system quiz to just, it all starts with education. So it's just giving you some insights of where your primary nervous system state is. You get some free tools from me, and then invite to my email community.
Thanks, Mitch. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone wants links in the show notes, you've come to the Christmas podcast, guys. You just send them to me. They'll go in the show notes. All the good things. We're spreading the joy. We're spreading the joy. I'm like 98% flammable, this dress. Like I thought I was going to be cold in this dress. This dress is obviously like 100% polyester. And I'm now like, it's quite hot, this dress. Okay, who would like to go next? Davina. Go on, pop that cherry, girl. This is Davina's podcast virginity breaking moments. No, you've got to unmute yourself.
You can even unmute. Now that I have done many, many times before.
So Davina, I have known, when did we first do it? So Davina and I have known each other in various different contexts, all under the
Mm.
guise of the same mentor. But was it 2022, 2023 we did a retreat together?
It was with Gloria, wasn't it?
Gloria, yeah, but you weren't part of the Cambo retreat.
No, I was before that, I think. Or did you do what? Yeah, you did. I don't know if you've done that twice.
Done it twice.
Oh, well, I was
Yeah.
in the middle.
You were in the middle. You were in the middle. So I met Davina on a retreat, I reckon 2023 maybe.
Let's not worry about timing.
Yeah, let's not worry. It's all
Makes
linear. Oh, it's not
age.
linear. Anyway, we're all 25 here. So we we met on a retreat, and then and as often happens when you finish a retreat, and actually Lucy, this is a good as Lucy knows, because Lucy runs retreats, you make very good friends on retreats that stay in your world for long, long times.
And Gloria is
And
a
it was
pig, I should have
Gloria is a
said.
pig. Gloria
Yeah.
is a pig. So we did a retreat down in Cornwall, on this lovely like 300-acre ancient oak woodland rewilding site. You sleep in these wooden coats. It's incredible. Um, and then we've done bits of other stuff too. We're in a group where we gather once a quarter ish, to talk about fun stuff. Um, but I first met Davina. We did the retreat where there was the silent bit in the woods. Yes. So I first met Davina and I was still experiencing a lot of pain around doing my family healing work. And we did this thing where we went into the woods and we had to be silent the whole morning. And I don't know if anyone's done silent retreat stuff, but there's one thing being silent on your own, but being silent with other people there is like a whole new level. And for whatever reason, we'd had this tour of the woods and it was an oak woodland, but there was this one great big giant beech tree in the middle. And and we had to do this walk. You had to do this walk in silence and you had to contemplate two questions. What can I know of myself here that I can know nowhere else? And then what can this land know of me? Or what does this land know of me that I cannot know of myself? It's not that I've got an amazing memory, Davina. I just stole those questions. I stole those questions when clients come to me and we do walks in the woods here. I make them do the same questions. So it's not like Davina's like, fuck, she's got a good memory. um, and I wailed. I wailed so hard because I was like, I am the beech tree. I am the beech tree that does not fit in the ancient oak woodland. And the guy, when he'd done like a talk round, he'd almost like treated the beech tree as like the parasite and nothing grows underneath it and it doesn't belong here. And I was like, I am the beech tree. And Danielle, who's our coach, Danielle, we're on the top of this like precipice looking down into this valley, all still in silence. And she just came and she just basically just wrapped herself around me as I like just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And Davina was really happy and everyone was really light and joyful. And I remember being like, how are these people so light and joyful? And then we like now when we all meet up, we're all laughing, but I was like, it just wasn't part of my it wasn't part of my available actions then. But Davina's always very much been like a beacon of light in my life. And maybe past lives too, who knows? So it's lovely to have her on today. And now you get to introduce yourself properly.
Thanks. Although I should clarify, prior to my like joy and happiness at that moment, like I felt like a lion there stood on that thing looking over. I was properly, but not long prior to that, I'd been crying in a field with a pig. So let's not, let's not pretend there wasn't a mix. You might have just missed that.
Oh yeah, maybe.
But yeah, so don't really know what to say about myself. So I'm a coach. Go on, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, but you can still be like an overall joyfully person who still feels your emotions.
Oh, of course, yes.
I just didn't have access to any of the joy. I just felt actually just feeling the shit.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, go on. Talk about your magic.
My magic. Well, it's funny. So I'm a coach as well, and I'm probably a bit more corporate, and I'm finding my way into less corporate as well. So sort of leadership coach, team coach, all of that kind of proper stuff. But within the last few years, leaning into a bit proper. Yeah, I don't know what I mean by that. Put my hands in.
We'll unpick that later.
Yeah, we'll unpick that in some coaching later. But like play is probably my thing. So it's quite nice to hear that laughter coming through. So I'm like that in any of the work that I do. If we can relax and enjoy and have fun, then we learn better and we connect with each other better. And one of the things I was trying to think, it's such a brilliant question, the simplicity of like, what are you celebrating? And actually, I thought about it and I started really simply. I was like, well, I'm actually celebrating that like everyone around me at the minute is healthy and well, and I've got like close family and friends like around me, and like that's lovely and fortunate this year, and I'm
Yeah.
celebrating that. Um, but the thing that I wanted to share is I did, and it's interesting, dancing has come up and the somatic movement and that side of things. So for about 15 months, I did a embodiment coaching program, which I qualified in finally at the beginning of the year. And I had grand plans then to like, take over the world with it and do everything I was going to do. And as it turns out, that hasn't happened. But what has happened has been much better. And what I'm celebrating is I'm gently weaving that in to my work and me and sharing it in a way that feels good so that I can take over the world in the future. And I've got a bit more of the foundation sides of things. I'm teasing about that. But one of the
Oh,
things through me is around like permission to play, because what I'm discovering is people don't give themselves that permission to kind of just release and relax and let it go a little bit. So I've been weaving some stuff into my corporate work, putting a bit of music on and getting people to dance around a room a little bit sometimes. We're doing it in some one-to-one stuff. And then the most exciting, no, not, it's all exciting actually, is outside of the corporate. I've done a few walk with the differences. And therefore we've been kind of around the forest. We're doing a bit of the kind of sense connection in terms of forest bathing, but I've then popped some music on and we've been dancing under the trees. And I was panicking that it was going to rain one day. And actually the rain was brilliant because then you can dance in the rain under the trees. So yeah, that's given me, as you can tell, a bit of energy, which is really nice. So I think that is what I'm going to celebrate. And I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes next year. Yeah. And can I chuck
amazing.
in a Christmas pun as well,
Yes,
Louise?
please. I was gonna. If anyone's got any Christmas jokes they want to share.
It's not a joke, but I
Oh,
have, because the other thing to celebrate from a health coach perspective, Mitch, bringing that in as well, I've managed to go cold turkey.
yes, nice.
Yes, cold turkey on a Diet Coke for the last 3 weeks. So we're not talking about a long
Awesome.
time, but 3 weeks.
Yeah, I've had my Diet Coke addiction
Oh,
time
well, you need to
period.
go cold turkey now.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't drunk it for I haven't really drunk it for a while. But so when I had this great combination. I had like early teens bulimia. Then let's not really eat at all. But how do I fill myself up? Drink copious amounts of fizzy drinks, which then became a theme, along with teeth grinding. So no one's surprised that Louise had to have all of her teeth restored at the start of 2024 because they'd been completely shafted. Yeah, well
Cool.
done.
Right,
Well
that's
done.
me.
I love
Oh,
it.
and thank you for inviting me here.
That is my pleasure. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn, Davina Holton. Nice and simple.
Amazing. And I'm very excited to see what happens when you stop doing proper work.
And I play
That'll be
even more.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I I think people have it's not that they don't know how to play, it's like they've forgotten how to, but it just brings up this like it just brings up like is I love it. Sometimes Nat's really playful. Not like that. Nat's really playful and he does like silly things and it's so lovely to have these like childlike moments together, which I recognize it would have really annoyed me in the past because I was very serious. Um, but it is something that's really hard to access. We took Sydney out I made him go out in the full moon last night because I knew it was going to be rainy. It's like, can we go out in the full moon? He's not impressed when I howl at the full moon. It's okay because I do it anyway. And I said, when we take Sydney out at night for the next few weeks, I was like, should we just randomly doorstep people and carol sing? He said no. I was like, but we could just do one carol. I was like, people would love it. He was like, no one would love it. I was like, but they would. But we did have a thing recently. You'll enjoy this, Davina, on the thing of play. So we're taking Sydney for a walk, and that's like, I wonder what a dog treat tastes like. I think we should know what a dog treat tastes like. I was like, I don't think we should know what a dog treat tastes like. And he was like, I think I'm going to eat one. It was the most hilarious thing. And he did. He ate one of her dog treats, and apparently they're really nice. And then he was like, but are you going to have one now? I was like, no, I'm not. Absolutely not. Um, Amazing. Thank you. Tracy, I know you were ready to dive in last time.
Yeah, I have the client meeting at 10:30, so I just didn't want to run out of time.
That's cool. So Tracy has also been on the podcast before. So I was in a mastermind with Tracy at the start of this year. But I really got to know Tracy. Well, Tracy really got to know me in June when she took me through an amazing past life regression. I still haven't listened to it back, but I just know that I know that I'll do it when I'm ready. I'm like, and every now and again, I'm like, oh, I still haven't listened to that back, and I'm like, yeah, but there's a good reason for that. And what was actually really, really lovely is like it's very look, we've all been in a situation where we've gone and done stuff and it's all right, but at points in time you're like, I'm not sure that was safe. Or like, especially when you've got like nervous system training and you're like, or trauma training, and it's like, I'm not sure about this. But this was just the most beautiful experience from start to finish. And towards the end, towards the end, we hit into a past life of mine, which I'm not going to talk about. Some of you know the details, but it's not a podcast topic. And it was very, very intense for me. Although what I will say, Tracy, is it has transformed that relationship, I reckon. Like it's hard to pinpoint, but it has made a very big difference in that relationship, having done that past life work. And Tracy was, and so one of the questions that Tracy asked is like basically like what's the lesson from that lifetime that you would bring into this lifetime? And I just honestly I was done and I was like, I can't. I was like, I can't, I think I'm done. And it was just instant back, like taking me out of the hypnosis back into, and I was just like, it was just, I was so held from start to finish. And it was such a beautiful, wonderful experience. And Tracy is a fantabulously wonderful human being. And I'm glad that you are here, that your little one kind of ish got up on time.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to introduce yourself properly, tell people a bit about you, how's your year been, what you're celebrating, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so this year has been absolutely crazy, and it sounds like I'm not the only one. I started doing the hypnosis stuff probably about 5 years ago, and as you know, I put it on the shelf for a while and kind of got sick of it and pushing and proving. And then, the first day I came back was the first of this year when we were in that mastermind and, having all the light language come through and all the priestess stuff and the carrier of the joy frequency codes, which is funny being in this group listening to everybody else. And so my focus became reclaiming childhood joy because I started to understand that that's why I was drinking when had the whole alcohol addiction problem. I was trying to recapture those pockets of joy like from childhood and I wanted to feel that freedom again. So that really became my focus for this year. Um, and it's funny because I was just thinking, you were the first podcast I was on that the whole Haciana thing was announced. And now you're going to be the first podcast I'm on for the new thing that I got hit over the head with about 2 weeks ago. And the movement, I think I told you in the text, I finally feel like I have a focus where all of this is coming together. So it's Walk as Her. And it is really still the same work that I'm doing, but really focusing on healing the feminine and healing the mother. Because what I've come to sort of understand is that if I can heal the mother, we're not only healing the past, because we're going to stop carrying the baggage from our lineage that keeps getting passed down. We're healing the past, the present, because mom's being healed, but we're healing the future because now mom is going to raise conscious children. She's going to stop putting her kids in the box. She's going to stop, because I look at the school system and I just think how broken it is. And I'm watching my kids go through it, and this is the problem that I see. So I'm healing past, present, future, but also really welcoming in the men who are in support of that, because I also see that there's a breakdown between the masculine and the feminine. So I'm a Libra by my birth sign, but I think, as you know, I was an attorney and a physician assistant, and I did this whole masculine business, right? And so then this year it was this whole feminine business, Rising in Phoenix, light language music song. And so it's almost like, you know, the walker between worlds, I guess is what it's come out as you're trying to pull all of this together. So you can come from both sides of it and really just help meet people where they're at and really just trying to help like heal the mother, because I think that's the focus for me is healing the mother, which also will help heal the children.
Amazing. What are you celebrating from this year? I mean, that in of itself is obviously a celebration. But if it was like one takeaway celebration, what are you celebrating from the year?
So I guess it's really two things for me. I'm just always celebrating. I'm very thankful to have the three kids that I have. They're the biggest teachers I have. And just the freedom that I get to work for myself. I don't have to answer to somebody else, and I'm building my life and my dream, and I'm not building someone else's anymore.
Yay! And if people want to come and spy on you, where do they do that?
So I did just open the public group Walk as Her like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but Rising in Phoenix is my company for this year, so there's stuff all over the internet for that. If you Google my name, I'll probably come up as an attorney. But if they're looking for this type of work, Rising in Phoenix is on Instagram, Facebook, it's pretty much everywhere. Sacred
Amazing.
Soul
Thank
Sessions
you.
on YouTube, something like that. The light language music and all
Lovely.
that fun stuff. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I actually had someone come and so the episode doesn't go, okay, this has been recorded on the 4th of December. So it'll be so I've already recorded the episode. So the last podcast episode, I've got a lady called Kathleen on, and we were talking about light language, and I was like, I'm not brave enough to use mine yet. But she did a light language transmission on the podcast and it was fabulous. So yeah,
Yeah.
marvelous. Yeah,
I've
it's
used
all
mine
very
in my
interesting.
courses and stuff, yeah. And I haven't used it in like a hypnosis session, but I've used it in my Reclaiming Childhood Joy course that I came up with. And so it's more infused for me, like it seems like recording, not live,
Yeah.
but we'll see how
Yeah.
it goes. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
By the way, I know some of you need to jump off at the top of the hour. So if you do need to jump off while Lucy is sharing her magic, then it's been amazing to have you here. All the good things. Lucy, you're last. So I'm going to talk to you about
Hello.
first. So Lucy has been on the podcast, oh God, many times. Three
Many
times.
times.
Many times. Lucy is a long, many time attendee of the podcast. So Lucy left her corporate world as a fancy banker about a year after I left law, I think. So we started chit-chatting on LinkedIn around that. We've kind of actually both worked with each other in different guises over the years. Lucy used to do bits of breath work for me in some of my groups. She's an awesomely epic human being. And then now generally what we tend to do is just send each other voice notes about how our lives are feeling. Just like that. Are you feeling like this? Oh, it's gonna be okay.
Totally.
So this is the bit now where you get to introduce yourself properly.
Do I have to
And
introduce
then
myself? Okay. Are
bit
you
about
going to
your
guide
year,
me?
what you celebrated. Not really. I'm just gonna let you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
If I need to
Introduce
guide you, I
myself.
will. But basically, just like, but
So, my name is Lucy, and I am an ex-banker. No, so I left JP in 2020, and I am now a therapeutic coach for women. And I'm really focused on the systemic issue we have of everyone being professionally massively overdeveloped and relationally underdeveloped, myself included. So like the world where everyone is like super shiny professionally and really obsessed with their CVs, and then they go home and like yell at their partner and become a 5-year-old. And it's like, we maybe need to do something about this as a society, especially in the age of AI, because I increasingly am like, the only skills that actually matter in a world where a computer can do everything else is how we relate. And I come from a history of having a lot of relational issues, which Louise knows a lot about. I was single for like my whole life. I met my one and only partner when I was 33, was like smacked over the head with a lot of avoidance, a lot of my own turmoil. And I really feel like we're in a space right now where we need to start doing deeper relational work. And it is definitely my own work for my whole life to be doing. And it feels like such a gift to be able to support people with that, and people that feel a lot of shame around it because they're professionally super shiny. So that feels really clear for me now, that it's like, it's a weird shame to have when you're like, I am super senior in my job and get paid loads and everyone really respects me, and then I cannot connect to my partner or to other people and get really triggered by everything. Um, so yeah, that wasn't really an introduction, but you know what I'm
No,
saying.
but the way it just flowed out of you, it definitely sounds like you found your thing for right now.
Found my thing. Found my
You
thing.
found your thing. So how's
Mm.
2025? How was it for you?
2025 has been a trip, I will say, of the psychedelic nature. No, it has been a journey. So I started the year in South Africa. I was living in Cape Town, moved back to London in March. And I think I have just been faced with a lot of myself coming back home and being back in my like family of origin much more, seeing old friends, like a lot of the stuff that I thought that I had worked through and it was like really transcended or whatever. The universe was like, no, you haven't, smack around the face. You're back to square one. It was literally like the Monopoly board, like I was just about getting to Park Lane and it was like return to jail. So I have been, it's been a really hard year in truth. I've been like professionally, it's been going well. I'm really enjoying my work. I led my first retreat, which was incredible and like went better than I ever could have imagined. But on a personal level, it's been hard and it's been like a real year of seeing myself more deeply and seeing the level of fear and shame and grit that is still very much lodged in my soma and like finding deeper compassion for myself and like coming back to my own humanity, I think for a period I'd like gone off into la la land and like it feels like it's been a year of humility, really. And there's beauty in that to a certain degree, but it doesn't mean that it's been easy in any way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be quite tricky, can't it? I remember when I did all the work with the somatic trauma coach, and we did a lot of stuff with my mum and dad, and there was lots of, lying on the
Mm.
floor and crying and shaking and all of that. And then we got to a point, and she was like, "But we've worked through this now." She's like, "So why are you still holding on to it?" And then it was always really stuck with me because I was like, because then I then did an awful lot of work with it for 3 more years with a therapist when I'd finished working with her for 18 months.
Mm.
And I was like, there's just a lot of layers to this. It isn't like, and I think it's really easy to get caught in, and I don't know what your particular flavor of getting caught in. It's very easy to be caught in a there's different kinds of spirituality, isn't there? And I don't think that, sometimes it isn't just as easy as like, and we're just going to do this one whatever, and then it's everything's going to have shifted and moved. Like Mitch talked about that need of like top down and bottom up approach, and like how do we combine and infuse it all? And there's lots of different ways you
Yeah.
can do that. But yeah, there is then a lot of grace to be like, okay, this thing's here again.
Yeah.
Let's not
Yeah, and
judge
it's
it.
but it's also like it's a real I notice this like real performer in me that's like I'm the teacher, so I should be enlightened. It's like no, oh my God, there's so much beauty to being like I'm still in this. Like I really am, and like I still see myself going into spirals of stuff that I thought I had healed like 6 years ago. And it's like it may be a different layer to it. Um, but I will say that one thing that has really shifted for me, which I feel it feels like quite a big like click in many ways is my capacity to reparent myself, not from a like cognitive layer of like, okay, I'm going to hold my inner child now because that's what I've been told to do, but like really being in stillness whilst holding difficult aspects of me. And that has been a big shift, like to access deep levels of shame from some form of stillness feels big. So I do like, I'm like, if I can manage to work through my relational stuff, literally anyone on this planet can. The depth of it
Brilliant.
is I have gone from having periods of like crawling out of the side of the bed in the middle of the night because of my avoidance to being able to sleep quite calmly. So I'm like, wow, it's definitely doing
That's
something.
amazing. That's
Mm.
amazing. And I mean, like for me personally, I really first of all, I appreciate the vulnerability in this space, but I just really enjoy being around people who are real
Mm.
because I don't know. Like I maybe there's a level of like you said about being enlightened. Maybe there's a level of enlightenment where we all just feel like happy and fuzzy and incredible all the time. But I'm not sure that that is the actual accurate depiction of what it is to be a human. And like I just don't trust people that are always like everything's
No.
great all the time. I'm like, I don't think it is.
No, no. Well, it's like this definition of loneliness that I found the other day of like basically not being in spaces where you feel like you can voice the truth of what's going on for you. And I recognize that so much. Like I feel best. I'm not saying that I feel best when I'm like trauma bonding and like only ever talking about painful things and all that stuff. But like there's a beauty to being in spaces with people that can be honest about the reality of life and to be like,
Yeah,
this is what's actually going on for me. And there's so much beauty and magic and other stuff too. But
yeah,
like, can we give a bit of space to the complexity of the human experience for a second?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So if you were gonna pick one thing to celebrate this year,
Mm.
and we did, yeah, we've all had many things this year, I think it's fair to say. But in a beautiful year, yeah, beautiful year. We're shedding things, and isn't that great? But also, yes. But what would be the one like thing that you would celebrate?
My biggest celebration was probably the retreat that I led in May. Like I went into it and it was like such a divinely orchestrated thing that I suddenly was like, need to run a retreat, found the center, it all happened really quickly. Had the most incredible group of women there, and I was really nervous going into it. Like I was like, this is a big thing to hold for a week. I haven't ever run a multi-day thing before. It's abroad. There's like multiple different dynamics to be managing. And I remember getting to the end of the week and having this moment of like, oh God, like what happens if I've got the dates wrong and like the transfer comes a day early? Like all these weird things were coming into my mind, and I was like, oh my God, I can actually just accept that this has gone really well and like that everyone's really happy and it honestly couldn't have gone better. Um, so I'm really celebrating that because it was a huge initiation for me to lead a space for that long and the
Yeah,
depth that we went to. And for it to have gone the way it did was like such a huge thing, like really
yeah,
big for
that is
me.
incredible. Because I mean, I had two people at the Wealthy Witches retreat, which was like a Friday to Sunday in my house. And I was like, oh, but except for I did try and do it all, like the meals and everything, all
Oh
of the
yeah, no.
bits. No, no, no. This the one in March. I'm like, no, no. I'm like, people need to come in and do everything, and
Yes.
I'll hold space. Um, but yeah, we're like a week's a big deal. Like you should feel so
Mm.
proud of yourself.
I would highly recommend if you ever run a retreat. Like the place that I did it was so amazing because the day that everyone arrived, the like lady who was the most powerful witch I've ever met, and also simultaneously like the admin woman at the retreat center, she came over to me and everyone was arriving and she was like, Lucy, all you need to do is just open your heart and we will do everything else. And I was like, oh, this is the kind of retreat center I want to lead at because I don't have to worry about anything else. I just have to facilitate, and it was such a gift
Oh,
to be
that is
doing it there.
amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. So if
Mm.
people are looking for you, where can they
In,
find you?
I mean, I really don't like Instagram, but I am there. Lucy underscore Maeve. I have a very complicated relationship with that platform. My best place is my podcast. I love
Yeah,
my podcast. It's my baby. It's called The Liberated Life, and you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And I just recorded an amazing, which was why I was late, an amazing episode about psychedelics. So there are lots of juicy conversations on the podcast to dive into.
amazing. And are you still like way ahead though? Like, is that going to
Always.
go live in like ages away?
Always, Louise. You know how I am. I'm like, I go through flurries of activity and then I stop and I'm like, okay, I'm totally scheduled until June.
I recorded a podcast with Lucy. When did it go live? Like 2 weeks ago or something. I recorded a podcast with Lucy months and months ago, but way before I went to Bali. And I was like, "Has that podcast been out yet?" She was like, "No, it's not due for a while."
It'll launch in December. Yeah. That was a
2029.
particularly bad. Yeah, that was particularly bad. I'm realizing that I do need to scale back my number of interviews at once.
I like to be a bit ahead though.
So do I.
That was
So do
like a
I.
university thing. I was like, if I'm always like a couple of weeks ahead, let's be clear, it's got a positive and a negative to it. But I was like, if I'm always a bit ahead, then it doesn't matter if stuff happens.
That's my theory. It's like then I feel like it's all done, but
You
then I'm
can
just
see it's a
constantly ahead.
double-edged sword though, can't you?
It's a
It's
huge
a
double-edged
double-edged
sword because it's
sword.
also
Yeah.
it's my manifesting generator that comes in flurries. That's like I will do everything for the next 5 years in the next hour and then doesn't do anything for a long time.
Well, at least you do it when you get the enthusiasm. So I
True.
feel like I should share something that I'm celebrating. I'm not going to tell you guys about my year because honestly, if you listen to the podcast, you'd have got snippets throughout. But I
Mm.
think, I'm going to steal the theme of like choosing me. I felt a long, long time ago, because I married this wonderful man who is 12 years older than me and doesn't like to fly, that I was never going to be able to travel. Like we've done bits, like like in fact we've just booked to go to the Canaries in February, but like that's a 4-hour flight. But like travel is not his thing. He feels very safe at home. He doesn't like any kind of holiday away. He's not a big fan. He just likes to be at home. Um, and for a long, long time, I felt like I needed to go to Bali. I didn't know why. And actually, that first of all, having his support, because if I'm really honest, I wouldn't have gone if he hadn't said, "Can you just stop talking about it and book it, please?" Um, and don't go for 2 weeks because it's too far away. Go for 3. And I was like, sure, right. So I like realistically, I wouldn't have done it without his support. But to follow those nudges and be able to do that thing felt like a massive deal, because it also opened up this whole can of worms around boundaries and overgiving, and seeing where I was still rescuing people, like where people didn't react that well to me being like, I'm going to be unavailable for 3 weeks. And I'm like, oh wait, hang on a minute. How have I recreated these codependent dynamics again? And I'm talking with clients now, right? So when you're like, but I'm supposed to be helping people with this stuff. So that there was lots of, everything's a mirror, isn't it? And as amazing as Bali was, and it was, and I'm so glad I went, I didn't go and be like, oh, I've really been missing out, and this is my purpose, and I'm really called to travel, and this is exactly what I'm meant to do. And I've never been as excited, apart from the fact that long haul travel is not for me. I've never, even if you upgrade to business class, it's still not for me. I've never been as excited to get home as on that second flight. It was the longest, however many hours of my life, because there was just, and I'm on the flight crying, and there's a Japanese guy next to me who must have thought I was an absolute nutter. I'm on the flight just bawling my eyes out because I just had this realization that I'd created the life I wanted. I was like, I'm actually looking forward to going home because I've got the life I wanted. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfect, and doesn't mean it's all shiny and rosy all of the time. We've actually worked really very hard. It was the start of February, March 2023. I told Nat I didn't want to be with him anymore. Not for the first time, right? But it was but it was the first time that it really felt like we are done. This marriage is over. And he was like, I'm going to fight for you, and I'm going to do the work, and we're going to stay together, and I'm going to do what we need to do. And he's never been okay when I've been away before. And this time he was okay. He was like self-sufficient. I mean, to be honest, I think he a little bit resented me coming back, because the like naggy wife who was like, have you taken your supplements? Have you eaten some protein today? was back. was back. But it was just like this realization of I actually created what I wanted. Like I and actually going to Bali was helpful because things did fall away in the business and the business shifted a bit. But it's like I have a business I enjoy, I have clients I enjoy, I have like the craziest flexible life, which is just as well because all of this shedding makes me tired and I like a nap. And like probably 90% of the time now, I am in this marriage that just feels magical. And even now when we argue, because we did earlier this week, and I was still grumpy, and that was like, no, come and cuddle me. He's like, come and cuddle me. He's like, and we're going to celebrate that we're so good at doing this now because we can come back together so quickly. And I was like, I'm not ready. And he's like, no, you are ready. You are ready. I'm not ready. You are ready. You are ready. And so like, and it just feels really good. And that doesn't mean that every single day I'm like dancing and singing and the world is incredible. But it's almost, I actually feel, to tap into like the joy theme of you ladies, I actually feel like I've been able to access joy for the first time this year. And it feels really lovely. Now I'm still accessing joy with all of the other range of the emotions. All the other emotions are still there, but I feel like I'm actually able to, and there's like this deeper presence, and I can actually experience joy and gratitude for the first time without this need of like, but this thing isn't quite good enough yet, or I just need to change this bit, or I just need to change that bit, or I'm not satisfied with this part. It's like, yeah, there's things I want to change, there's things I would love to be slightly different, but also what I have is great. And that just feels really nice. And also, let's celebrate that I know all of these amazing people that came on the podcast today, because you are all epic. Okay, any more for any more before we wrap up? No? Okay, so we wish everyone a Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, if you don't celebrate Christmas, happy 25th of December. Hope your Thursday is going well. Please connect with people on the podcast. Go and say hi to them, see what they do, because it's lovely to see lots of different people's work and how they are sharing and doing things in the world. I don't watch them every single day, but I do have to say Lucy's stories are always generally worth a watch when I do catch them. Yeah. Okay, my loves, thank you so much for being here. And the next episode of the podcast in January, we have a lady that used to be a detective and now she channels galactic beings, so that'll be interesting for you to listen to. So I wish you well for the rest of 2025 and I will catch you in 2026.